the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AVweek, episode 124, recorded Friday, January 3rd, 2014. Flugalnet.
Ready.
AVweek.
Performing. Scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AVweek. This is AVweek, your weekly wrap-up of audiovisual news and information. That's the logo there. My name is Tim Albright. My voice. Hey, there's my ugly face. How you doing? Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This week we have the incomparable manager of vertical markets theme parks for Harman International, Mr. Bradford. Benn, how are you, sir?
I'm just cold.
Oh, you're cold.
There's no degrees outside. It's a problem.
Well, it is. Where are you again physically?
Hello. I'm physically in my office.
Thank you.
I am physically in Elkhart, Indiana this week.
There we go. Elkhart, and he has. If you're watching, he has a airline terminal behind him. Also with us, the fake Canadian, the bad Canadian, the world's worst Canadian from Omega Audio Video. His name is Matt Scott. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Doing well. You both are sporting the nice facial hair, and I'm sporting.
Dude,
I'm
freezing.
sporting 4 months worth of growth myself.
It's freezing.
Yeah, it's freezing.
Anything.
It is cold. It is cold, and you're in London, Ontario, where it's what?
Right now, 9 Fahrenheit.
Okay, and
we warmed up.
I'm outside of St. Louis, where it's 4. So
yeah, we were minus.
That's warmer than it is here.
We were
I'm
minus
impressed.
5 when I minus 5 Fahrenheit when I got my truck this morning.
Yeah, it's definitely winter.
Chile.
Chile. All right, this week on AVweek.
That's why you're a fake Canadian.
Yep. Because it's chilly. Yeah, that would be balmy if you were a real Canadian. You'd be still wearing.
I'm very disappointed in you.
This week on AVweek, it's the first one of the 2014 calendar year. We're going to be talking about lighting. Matt Scott's a big lighting guy, big proponent of companies like Lutron and automated systems. Yes, sir.
We're celebrating by taking the show over from you.
Already. Yeah, if you don't know, Matt.
We didn't want to let you get.
Yeah,
going.
apparently we're going to take the show over from you.
Bradford and Matt have a very nice and very interesting podcast that I was I the host or the guest of that thing?
You were technically the host, or the cat wrangler, or
you were the guest host.
We have lots.
But I don't think that one ever saw the light of day because there was too much to cut out.
Well, it was a 3-hour podcast, and we got 10 usable minutes.
Well, that was probably Bradford talking about hockey. So
it was a snippet.
Also,
so we're just going to take this one over.
That is
and
awesome.
just run with it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Why not?
No.
You know, it's the first win of the year. I'm still in vacation
hair
mode.
Products.
I'm still in vacation mode.
That would make sense.
Video over IP, and some interesting trade show alliance agreements this week. One that just came out late last night, early this morning. So I did not have a chance to put that on your guys' docket. Bradford showing the fabulous Starbucks. Matt, I still have not got my Timothy's coffee, so you're on my bad list.
Well, I'm not sending anyone Timothy's coffee.
What is it?
I'll send Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons coffee.
But Timothy's is just
I just knew it had
nasty.
Tim in it. I just knew it had the word Tim in it, and I was excited. So, all right. First up, we have...
Timmy's.
Huh? No.
Look, if you come up to Elkhart, we'll have Matt come down to Elkhart, and we'll just have a big coffee. Think about it.
Okay. That's easy. That's easy. It's not a very long drive for me anyway. It's probably, 5 hours?
Yeah.
Sony and Panasonic are calling it quits officially, at least on their OLED TV partnership. Last year, a year and a half ago, June of 2012, they said, hey, we're going to get together and we're going to do OLED and 4K, and a bunch of tech geeks, myself included, were all excited because, well, I like the idea of 4K. I like the technology of OLED. Sony and Panasonic getting together. Not that I have a lot of love for Sony right now, But Panasonic themselves they've been known to get manufacturing up and running, and they've found ways to make money in this business. So it was exciting. It was great. Sony's getting in partnership with a pretty solid company, and now they're not. So Bradford, what does this spell? Does it spell anything for either company? Does it say anything about the future of 4K or OLED, or is this maybe just two companies that couldn't quite work together?
I think it's more of two companies that couldn't quite work together, especially with how many billions of dollars did Panasonic lose?
Mm-hmm.
$9 billion last year, I believe. So being able to bring manufacturing up and make money is obviously not their strong suit at the moment. I wish them luck because I do think they're a good vendor, but it's one of those things I think it's purely driven out of economics. Panasonic has other things to concentrate on, and Sony has things to concentrate on, like why I haven't gotten my PS4 yet. And then comes the fact that OLED I don't think is coming out as strong as people want, or same thing with the 4K just because of a lack of content and the price per display. So I think it was just an economic decision, and I think a lot of it was driven by Panasonic's turmoil with the past few years with their profit and loss. So I think it makes sense. Sony's not exactly been in a strong suit at the moment either. The whole electronics market has been having problems, especially the consumer electronics market. So I just think it's a sign of the times. I don't read anything more into it than someone looked at the money and went, it's not making the most sense to keep this partnership together because neither company can put all their attention to it.
Yeah, then that's fair. That's fair. Matt, both of these, you live a lot in the residential and the house of worship market. When it comes to both of these companies, they have been historically pretty heavy hitters. Does it say something that they couldn't make it work?
I don't necessarily think it really is that cut and dry. It's more of, just as Brad said, it's a bigger issue between the two of them constantly, trying to work together and probably not. It was probably a bit of a doomed, partnership from the start. And, I don't think you can read much more into it than that.
It was just, not necessarily that anything bad. They just couldn't work it out amongst themselves.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's two of the biggest competitors going together. That'd be like BMW and Mercedes trying to make a car.
That would.
It's
be
just
awesome.
Not going to happen. It would, but it's not going to happen. You're never going to see it happen.
Well, what about stuff like what was it last year? Let me say this correctly. Samsung invested into Sharp because they were. Sharp was losing money and they were looking for investors. Samsung became the biggest non-bank institution investor in Sharp. Is that because that's where they get a lot of their glass? Because those are two significant competitors, and one propping the other one up.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's more of one propping the other one up. They're financing in it. They're not necessarily trying to again produce a product together. One company, it's just one company investing in another company and getting some stake in that company to help, again, that company produce better and further down the road rather than halting operations. And again, not that it was ever that dire, but, it's a different thing. It's not a partnership, it's an investment.
Okay. All right, moving on to some trade organizations. First, the HDBaseT Alliance. HDBaseT has announced that Panasonic is now a contributing member. And just so y'all can do this, let's swing over real quick to the HDBaseT.org. There are promoter members, which is Sony, LG, Samsung, and Valens, of course, because they're the ones that make the chips. Contributing members, which now includes Panasonic, and then the adopter members. Matt, we'll go back with you on this one. Is that saying something? The fact that Panasonic has joined up now with the HDBaseT side, they're not necessarily putting all their chips in this technology and this format, but they're at least saying, hey, you know what? We're going to start developing some stuff, developing obviously some displays, whether that's projectors or flat panels that takes just the single RJ45 and inserts or takes the audio and video off and eventually possibly if they get it working correctly the power as well. Does that add credence to and give HDBaseT a little bit more clout, the fact that Panasonic's joined them?
I think it definitely does, and I think it's one of those things where just like any technology out there, the more companies that jump on board, the more popular and the more clout, if you will, they'll have. And I think at some form, whether it is HDBaseT or whether it's AVB or something else down the road that we haven't even heard of, we will get to that true one-wire technology, which we still don't really have. HDMI is kind of there, but not really, and it's fairly limited in what it can really do across the board, whereas HDBaseT solves a lot of those problems and gives us some really, really cool features as well. So throwing, in all reality, a pretty big player like Panasonic on board just looks good for A, that technology, and B, Panasonic. I can't wait to be able to, get my hands on some more projectors and whatnot that have that built in to where we're running one cable. And that's great.
Are you comfortable running the power as well? I mean, because that was one of the things that to me was the most significant thing. The HDBaseT, the thing that they were showing at InfoComm 2013 this past year. It was beta. Don't get me wrong. They weren't exactly selling these displays. But they were running, they were powering some of the flat panels with the single cable.
I think that really is kind of the holy grail of, connected displays, is when we do hit that point where we can go out and purchase a TV, a display, a projector, whatever it is, and hook up one cable, power, signal, source, internet, control, everything in one, easily found RJ45 on Cat 6 or Cat 7 or whatever that specific spec it needs. That'll be huge. And I've talked with a bunch of commercial guys that I work with, and hearing some of the lack of a better term, the horror stories of trying to work in a Fortune 500 building and the cost and the time required to get a power plug. Mm-hmm. Versus being able to run a Cat 5 or a Cat 6 or, again, some form of Cat cable is night and day. It'll really, that will be the holy grail for us.
Okay.
For now.
Bradford,
so they can get wireless power.
Oh, be quiet.
Wireless power, I want it tomorrow.
Didn't somebody named Nikolai Tesla try that once and
but I think
things happened? Go ahead, Bradford.
So, oh come on, it still works. But sorry about the connectivity issues. I think that proves one of the concerns right there. And I was wired. I think part of it is that Category 5 cable, or 6, or 7, or 8, currently is not going to be able to have enough power to be able to drive a big display. So I think the Holy Grail has some limitations just because of electrical code and trying to get power down the line. I agree it's easier to get a network drop than it is to get a power drop often. However, I think that what this shows me is that there's still a desire for easy networking and putting stuff together. I think it's just like AVB being popular, just like this, it gives you a consumer level approach, and I'm not sure it's going to work well for the larger projects where you have to send it to 50 displays, like say an airport. So it's something I think that has some uses. I think that the idea of a single cable to a display is very possible. You look at some of the Samsung displays, some of the Panasonic devices with the built-in Windows computers already in there, and just put up a Category 5 cable right into it that's sending Ethernet, you're all set. And all you have to do is power. To me, the other way to look at this, and you heard it here first, is doing Ethernet over power, which I'm doing at home and getting 80 megabits a second, and you can do 120 megabits a second if I wasn't so cheap and bought the newer product. And that's the way to go ahead and get it down to the single plug, and you can put a bigger projector, a brighter projector, as well as a bigger display out there that way, instead of having to limitations based on power over Ethernet. Like I said, go the other way, and I think that's the better solution. In terms of HDBaseT versus AVB versus Flugalnet versus, MuppetNet, I think it's one of these things where the nice thing about standards is there's so many to pick from. But I do think that there is going to be an eventual winner. Yep. I do think there's going to be an eventual winner. I've been doing a lot of stuff with AVB because my MacBook actually has AVB in it. And what's interesting to me is that Xilinx is both on HDBaseT and on AVB, and I think it's just because as a silicone manufacturer, they want the best chance of winning.
Yeah. Well, speaking of AVB, and I really wasn't...
I love the delay.
It's very helpful.
Yeah, it's very helpful. Speaking of AVB, one of the stories that came down actually yesterday, late yesterday, AVnu Alliance is proud to start 2014 with an exciting announcement today. Crestron joins AVnu Alliance as the 65th member, as well as being the first home control and automation company to join the alliance. So here's something for you guys to chew on and think about, and I'm actually in the middle of writing a blog post about it for this Monday. Crestron, whose DM system, their digital media, which is their transport over a single Cat5, is based on HDBaseT and the Valence chip. They've joined the AVnu Alliance, which is AVB, and I'm not trying to make this about AVB versus HDBaseT. I really don't think that it's a head-to-head comparison, mainly because HDBaseT is point-to-point, AVB is more over switch. What does this tell us? And I'm not trying to be coy here, because to me it's obvious what it tells us. It tells us that Crestron is in some way, shape, or form working on some sort of AVB product. I may be naive here. I may be putting the cart before the horse. But go ahead, Bradford. I mean, what does it tell us, the fact that Crestron has joined up with the AVnu Alliance?
I think it tells us that Crestron is doing things that many other manufacturers are doing, supporting multiple protocols. If you look at my employer as Harman, we support AES, AVB, BlueLink, CobraNet, Dante, Maddie. We Aviom cards
for me
purchasing additional cards. So I think it's more of a good business decision. Yeah, but I think it's a good business decision of having multiple platforms to pick from, and let the customers decide what the right solution is for their project. So to me, that makes perfect sense. I think, do I think that they're going to have an AVB device? Yeah. If not, why would you join the AVnu Alliance? Or it could be that they're just looking at a way to control it all through 1722.1, which could be just as good of a reason to join the AVnu Alliance.
I don't
looking
think
at it from a building management and approach to it that way.
But here's the thing. I mean, let's not be silly here. Crestron's still a home automation, or not home, but Crestron is still a control and automation company, absolutely. But their DM product, though, is, I mean, they're as much of a video transport company anymore as they are a control company. Or am I thinking that their DM product is bigger than it is? Bradford?
No, I think you're right.
So in other words, their product, their DM is as big as maybe not as much as control, but it's a good chunk of their market. So
it's definitely continuing to grow and expand their market share in that area. And I don't think that they're going to give or release any information to the public, the general public, stating what those percentages are.
Oh, no.
But I would be shocked if that's not taken off dramatically, even year to year.
Go ahead, Bradford.
But remember, DM is not a true network.
No, it's HDBaseT. It's point to point, right?
It is their system that works, right? And so it doesn't go on to building-based network, whereas an AVB system is able to. So I think it's not competing with itself. Like you said, it has a good video distribution solution, but that doesn't scale real well. And I'm still looking at Crestron, for stuff like major stadiums or attractions where it's running smaller sections of it, but it still has to integrate with big systems that might be running AVB or Dante or other protocols. So I think it just makes sense for me able to talk to more things. I think it's kind of like, do you want to have an MP3 player, one of these that just plays MP3s or AACs or waves or any other format? So I look at it that same way. I think they're just diversifying what they can support to hopefully get some incremental growth out of it. So to some degree, being their own competition and letting the customer says, hey, I'm using AVB. Oh, we've got AVB product. Hey, I'm using Flugalnet. We've got Flugalnet. I'm using CobraNet. Yeah, we still got that.
They don't have
so
Flugalnet.
All sorts of stuff like that is what I'm trying to. I think that they're doing. I think it makes sense. I'm working on it. It's
all right.
Running back there. No, just joking. I'll get.
All right.
But Flugalnet's is kind of like widgets. It's just
I know.
Saying,
I was.
It's just my fantasy network.
Yeah, but if somebody actually ever comes up with Flugalnet, you'll have to sue them for that, Bradford.
I know. Would you rather I have TrumpetNet?
TrumpetNet would be nice. MuppetNet I liked. That one was nice.
Okay, I'm gonna work on TrumpetNet.
You probably can't. You probably can't do MuppetNet because Disney owns that, and
that one I might get sued about.
You might get sued about, yeah. All right, this goes to our resident lighting guy and
Muppet 3D.
Muppet, yeah, I just saw that. It just went to never mind. Under control outdoor lighting. This comes to us from EC Magazine. And they go on there. They're talking about actually LEDs and outdoor control of outdoor type lighting, and how the city of Los Angeles actually put together this mesh network of outdoor lights. So Matt immediately thought of you, and the fact that you were coming on this week helped solidify the fact that we're going to grab this story. So you've got these mesh networks, right? And whether it's bringing them into an AMX or a Crestron control system, Aurora, whoever, or letting them be their own autonomous systems. First of all, how financially viable is stuff like this, whether it's outdoor or indoor? And secondly, from an integrator standpoint, how difficult or easy is it to implement these?
Well, from a financial standpoint, this is one of those things where the replacement cost of bulbs and fixtures and systems are still very high. It's still a very expensive proposition. Even, if you dumb it straight down to the, residential space to pop out pot lights and, run pot lights with LED fixtures versus standard incandescents, halogens, or compact fluorescents, whatever, it's still much, much higher cost. Granted, where you're able to offset that initial cost is in energy savings and usage savings over time. The lifespan of these bulbs obviously is dramatic, and the energy savings is equally as dramatic. For city size installations, this is going to be a major, huge savings across the board for them. As far as when it gets into integration for all of them, again, it's kind of all over the map. There are systems like this, like GE, that produce very good systems that operate very well and are their own. They're their complete own standalone system, opposed to the standard sulfur lights and some of the other lights that are so common in cities and highways and whatnot all across North America. It is one of those things where they will save a ton of money, but they're adding essentially another smart system, if you will, into their city's infrastructure, which has all of that additional cost and workload to it. So it's something that at some point we will see most likely every light in North America. From your house to your car to your street lamps, everything will become LED, unless they bring something else in the near future, which I don't really foresee.
I think you're still going to see compact fluorescence, or
right?
Canadian Football League, as I call it. But I'm assuming we're talking about the LED lights. Sorry,
yes.
I dropped connection as I mentioned. The thing that gets me is some of the stuff I think, like Matt said, the cost of it's going to help a whole lot. The lifespan's going to help a whole lot, but I also think that because they're LEDs, for an architectural and entertainment standpoint, the idea of they're saying in LA that they're going to be able to turn on and off lights based on what areas they're in and the GPS latitude and longitude coordinates. I wonder if it's false economy by being able to turn off the light 1 minute earlier or 1 minute later versus the amount of money it's going to take to do all that math. And I think that there's some downsides in their approach of being able to manage it that much. As they said, they can turn off the lights in those non-busy areas. Well, call me paranoid and all that stuff, but I'd want the lights on in the non-busy areas. you know.
And that's one of those things where, you know, I was reading a couple other articles this past week about home automation and smart homes, offices, businesses, infrastructures, etc. And, you know, again, this always comes back to that one phrase of just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yes.
In a city, you know, well, Brad, you know where I live. And we were walking a dog that we were fostering probably a couple months ago. And, you know, most of our lights are always on, but there was one street lamp that, for whatever reason, and it's not a smart bulb, it seemed to happen. As soon as you walked into its glow, the light would shut off. And again,
that was me, actually.
Oh, it was you?
I was using Find Friends, or my version of it, Find Enemies.
and kill the lights.
Yes.
But, you know, again, and that wasn't a, you know, purposed event. It just seemed to always work out that way. But, you know, that's that same thing. You don't want your city lights, or worse, your roadway lights going out because somebody doesn't think there's cars on the road.
Yeah.
What happens when that sensor fails and the lights are all off because the sensors are not reading that there's, you know, vehicles on the road or traffic or people, and there is a lot of traffic and there's a lot of people and you're causing accidents and stuff like that. This is one of those things. It makes sense until you dig into it, and then you hit that point of, do we really need to turn off a street lamp because it's, you know, 3 a.m. and we don't think someone's there?
Oh,
that's the reason
I just got a flat tire under the street lamp.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
I can't see to change it.
Yeah. It's one of those things. You know, they're changing to LEDs. That's great. They will save so much money going that route. But to, you know, you look at, for heaven's sakes, this is LA. This is the most bankrupt state, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Illinois may have you on that.
Well, I know LA is not a state.
But California is.
But I want to explain this to you.
Stop it. LA is in the most bankrupt state. It's in California, correct?
Once you're using red pen, does it matter how big the number of the red pen's doing?
No,
it does if you're a member of that, a resident of that state, and that's why I say I think Illinois may have California, but I could be wrong.
But this hits that whole point of, are they not spending a boatload of money to study this, to research this, just to discover what we just figured out in 5 minutes on a podcast? That this probably, yes, it sounds great, and yeah, maybe turning, you know, being able to actually sense when daylight hits, to kill that light as soon as daylight hits, and you have ambient light naturally, perfect. But to put, you know, have sensors, have all the algorithms to figure out when and when they shouldn't have lights on.
Well, I got this thing on the side of my house that does this for me without any IP, without any update. You know, it's a motion sensor with a sensor. Oh
or a photo cell.
I got a photo sensor on my light pole in front of my house, so it turns on at dusk, turns off at dawn.
Exactly.
It's this $3 part, and it controls any type of light, just applies power. So I'm with you. This is one of these. People are using technology because they can.
Yep.
Not because they should. It's kind of like, do you need a timer in your toothbrush?
I like mine. I'm not going to lie.
Do you have a timer in your toothbrush?
I have, one of my clients is a dentist, and he gave me this monster Oral-B fancy. It lights up. It's killer.
It's Bluetooth enabled even. I can tell you his brushing habits.
But it's a timer? I mean, does that so you don't stop brushing until it's time?
It's supposed to be 30 seconds per quadrant of your mouth.
Yep. and
kids
mine
need
goes.
this. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. But back to the lighting thing.
Thank you.
I sat down with our local mayor here 3 years ago because he wanted to learn all about LEDs and stuff like that. And we
Is that
sat
the
down.
Chris Farley guy?
No, not the Chris Farley guy.
No.
Close.
He's in Toronto. That's
Toronto.
what Brock.
It's all Canada. To
I
me.
know.
Brock.
I know. Canada looks big, but there's different parts of
Okay.
it.
Believe it or not. And, we kind of had this same discussion. He wanted to know about, is it feasible to do this? Can you do that? Can we shut lights off when there's no one on the streets? I'm like, yes, but no, you don't want to. Just replace your bulbs with LEDs. You'll be good.
So,
But
go ahead.
And I can see the logic of smart dimming.
Of course.
That to me, especially with LEDs, makes a lot of sense. Also, the idea of color balancing it. And we have to look at this beyond just the traffic. We're looking at traffic right now because we're kind of, to some degree, making fun of over-specification, overindulgence of and more technology than you need on fixtures for traffic. But can you imagine the idea of the light starts at 25%, goes to 50%, goes to 75, then goes to 100. Oh, instead of being that yellow glow, it's a more natural glow so your eyes don't get fatigued. Can you look at the idea of when you're putting signage outside of buildings that you can actually have it be the appropriate and be able to set the right tone and be able to reinforce your message of, oh, look, the police department building is blue. The fire station is red. To me, that makes sense in the way, to some degree, that LEDs can be used. But I think there are some advantages of having them being controlled, but I think too fine of a control going down to the light, to the individual location, versus, say, a square mile at a time is reducing it. But I do think that we're looking at just light poles, and I agree. Street lights, probably a little bit too tweaky. Let's say a parking structure. Do you bring all the lights down to 25%, and when you hear noise or there's motion and they come up to 100%? Kind of like, you have those little motion sensors in some locations where you wave your hand and poof, the lights turn on?
Yeah.
That might make more sense with the fact that LEDs give you that ability, whereas the sodium pressure lights have to warm up. So I think there is some advantages to it that we can get and still be able to walk that privacy versus not privacy. It's like when I walk through O'Hare at 1 a.m. and all the fluorescent lights are on and the clear channel display boards are on at full blast at the exact same level as they are during the day to get through the sun. I'm like, that's a waste of energy because you're generating heat, you're generating all this extra light, all this stuff. And I'm like, lower them down to a more reasonable level at night. And same thing with the lights of let's turn off every other light until a plane comes in and then they all turn on. Yeah. I think that's the better example of not doing, to some degree, the smart grid, but a more benevolent smart grid.
Our local Home Depot does that type of thing, whereas when it's off-peak hours, every other light in the building is off. If you walk into...
Sorry, go ahead.
If you walk into that aisle, the lights come on. When you leave that aisle, half the lights shut back off. Again, it's a very effective use of control and automation. It's not overdoing it. And, again, this is something, I see all the time in residential. You have clients who are outfitting their entire home in Radio Raw or Homeworks or whatever it is. And they want, a lot of them, want individual control over every single bulb, every single switch leg. They want to be able to control everything and know exactly when stuff's coming on and off. And it always comes down to, again, you don't need that level of control. You need something that allows you to turn the lights when you walk in the room, dim them to a comfortable level, and then shut them off. You don't need to walk into Control Central 9 times out of 10 and sit there and fiddle with every single light level. I do that, but that's me.
Well, and there are some guys that are going to do it. Some homeowners who will do it for the first week or the first month that they have it just because they can, or when they have holiday parties, see, look what I can do to my lights. But 9 times out of 10, the day in day out stuff when you walk in from a long day at work, you don't want to mess with that. You just want to hit a button and have it go to the right level that you want.
what I want is I pull the car into the garage, I hit the garage door opener button, it opens up, it knows I'm home, it turns on the lights, it opens the refrigerator, it opens the beer, it pours it for me, it puts the hockey game on so I can watch the make-believe lose.
Hey.
But I do think they actually won this past week at all 106, but I do think there are some other features that they're missing or that we're not talking about with the LED lighting and the smarter grid technology.
Yeah.
Think about Matt's story of that LED that kept going out, or that street fixture that kept going out.
Yeah.
Imagine the ability to monitor, is the light bulb on? Is it functioning properly? Instead of having to wait for someone to call up and go, that light's out and it's been out for 3 weeks. Now it's, hey, this light is not receiving the voltage we're expecting. Maybe we should send someone out to go take a look at it. Oh, look, someone tapped in their home into it and is running their Christmas lights off it. Or the bulb's been shot out, or whatever the reason there's no light there. That, to me, is the bigger one with the smart grid technology.
Yeah, to cut down manpower and to expedite maintenance, etc., is where this will really start to take off.
Yeah.
But they'll have to, again, you'll have to get your city planners, who are usually the ones responsible for this type of thing. You're going to have to get them out of their current mindset of over control and get it into a functional deployment of these technologies that makes sense. But just if I can bring up one other lighting thing that we didn't get, because I just saw it today and I posted it on my Google Plus and my Facebook page. CNN had posted some stuff about smart homes and Tony Fadell talking about how it doesn't work and
it's
there
not
aren't
here yet.
Yeah, and there's not lighting. There's not companies that allow you to control your lights when you walk into a room and out of a room. And we had talked about this on another post like 2 days ago from, I think, the Wall Street Journal and New York Times or something.
Is that the one that
about,
Julie Jacobson posted?
Yeah, Julie Jacobson talked about it. Automation companies such as Comcast, Vivint, I think.
Vivint, and I think the only
AMX.
one, the decent, AMX was the only halfway decent one on there.
Yeah.
I think Rogers Communication was even on there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, let me see. Like the little Bluetooth indicator I have on here that automatically locks my computer when I walk away from it. Oh, that technology is not there yet.
No.
I'm still waiting for the Bluetooth light switch so that when I walk into the room, it goes to my level.
Well,
that's what I want.
Here's the thing. You're going to have that very, very quickly because of either
You're
RFID.
gonna build it for me?
No, I'm not that smart. I'm not anywhere near that smart. But either RFID or this other NFC or even Bluetooth, where it will have all your little preferences and everything, and the fact that it knows that you're Bradford Benn and you're walking in with your iPhone, and know the difference between you and your lovely bride, and you're going to walk through the room, and it's going to set the temperature, it's going to set the lighting, it's going to set put the Devils game on, and she's going to walk through, and it's going to put the Blues game on because she likes watching good hockey, and said the.
What? Don't make me have to call up George.
Oh no, George is a Rangers fan.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's dead to me.
Yeah, he's dead to you. But you get my point, though. The NFC and the RFID and the Bluetooth stuff that's already in our cell phones, and let's be honest here, guys, we walk around with these things 9 times out of 10. Some of them even have started built-in pedometers. The fact that this is kind of a testament to the fact that we all walk around with these things. So you walk into a room, you have an NFC reader, you have an RFID reader, it knows who you are, and all that's going to do is take that information. It's going to trip some sort of signal that's going to talk to an AMX processor, a Crestron processor, and say, here's the settings for Bradford. Okay, 1, 2, 3, then all it is a control protocol, right? Then all it is a list of things in a stepper or in a list of things to do when Bradford walks into a room. We want him to do, we want the house to do this, right? And it goes back to what you're talking about, Bradford, everything except for the pouring of the beer. I'm sure that there's a way, I'm sure there's a relay to do that somewhere, but everything else though, you should be fine.
I can explain to you how to do that. They have servos that control beer taps. I can really explain to you how to do that. But that's a whole nother talk.
Is it a relay or is it
No. It's a survey and servo.
Servo.
It's
And then
basically
you
it's,
run a
it's like a
relay.
pump control, just like you have for being able to turn on and off your sprinklers in your
Oh, okay.
in your yard.
That should be pretty
It's really
simple.
not that difficult. And this would also work for, say, things like offices. You go into the conference room and the CEO shows up and he's quote unquote the host, and it sets everything the right way. And I think that is, it's not just residential; it's also for the office space and for the user personalization. I think where it's going to get to be interesting is arbitrating multiple users and integrating that with a scheduling software, which I know AMX has been doing. I know Crestron does, of the whole idea of you've scheduled the conference room, let me put it to the right settings for you.
Well, and
But
I
I
think
think-
both of them. I know Crestron does for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that AMX does as well. They integrate with Outlook. They integrate with other scheduling software. They integrate with Resource 25, which is a big educational resource.
Yep. They integrate
calendar.
with Hot Sauce for hotels and
Okay.
convention spaces. So
Well, and again, it always seems to come back to most of the people that are writing these articles are looking for a DIY approach. They're looking for something they can go to Best Buy or Home Depot and pick up an automation package. And we know that this just is not a solution for a small business or a large business or a residential situation unless that's all they're looking for. But
let me ask you this,
well-
Matt.
Yes.
I'm gonna turn this into one of our podcasts.
Oh, good.
Excellent.
I'm gonna channel Brock for a moment. What is
Oh,
our
great.
industry doing to foster the people understanding that not everything's DIY and that what's available? Is this an Infocom thing? Is this a CEDIA thing? Is this the contractors and integrators have to do it?
I was going to say, I'm going to ask, is it an NSC thing, an NSCA thing?
This is, first of all, I love the way you slowed down on the F, because that was Brock to a T. That was perfect. You just kind of drew it out slowly. I like it. But to answer your question, I think it's everyone. It's everybody. It's something that we've talked about. You and I have talked about a lot. Brock and I have talked about. A lot of us have talked about this multiple times. Yes, it's the organizations, but bottom line, it comes down to us as integrators. It's one of those things. This almost has to be kind of like a religion. This has to be one of those things that you tell everyone you know what's possible, because that's the biggest misnomer, is that people don't realize that this type of technology, these kind of things, are possible, and that there is a difference between DIY and pay for play. I can go and buy oil and change the oil in my truck. Can I do it? Yes. Will I screw it up? Hopefully
Yes.
not. Shut up, Brad.
Probably.
Having done it once, maybe twice, I think I'm not terrible. I kind of sort of maybe figured it out. Anyways, but will I go to my mechanic, who's a local mechanic? Probably. Will I go to my dealer? Yeah, definitely. Will I go to the custom performance shop because I want my truck all hopped up? There are different levels. For some reason in technology, so often the general populace does not seem to grasp that there is something in between, that DIY went to Home Depot, Radio Shack, Best Buy, insert whoever you want here, and the super high-end, I saw this on, HGTV touring a multi-million-dollar home that has $40 million in automation crap in it. There is a huge gap in between that the general populace does not seem to understand, whether it be corporate, whether it be small business, whether it be residential. And as much as I'd love CEDIA, Infocom, NSCA, any of these large organizations to promote this effectively and well, it can't just be on them, because Infocom cannot reach all the major commercial potential clients. They never will. CEDIA will never reach every residential opportunity that's out there. It has to come down to us as individuals to promote our industry and our brand and what we do and what's possible. Because until it gets to a point where I can tell, I was in the States yesterday and drove up to the border in one of my trucks, and the border guard asked what I do. I told him I own the company, kind of pointed to the truck because it's all over the side, as Brad knows. Pointed to the truck. He kind of looked at me and said, okay, so is that like speakers and stuff?
Oh, I still install car stereos according to my mom.
Exactly. And it takes explaining that for people to even have the slightest understanding of what it is that A, we do, and B, that's available to them.
Yeah, and I think that home automation, I keep going to that. Automation and control in general is one of those ethereal little magic things that people don't think about. Because one of the articles that you mentioned, Matt, mentioned the fact that how do they put it? There's not one central
control system
that can take all these disparate systems and control everything at once. And I'm reading this article going, are you kidding me?
Well, and here's where they're reading that. Here's where that thought process comes from. Because you can't, in all reality, you cannot go buy one thing and plug and play it.
Agreed.
True. Yes.
There's nothing that will plug and play and read information from a Wolf range, a Samsung fridge, a Samsung TV, a Panasonic Blu-ray player, a lift all garage door opener, a Locktronic lock. There's not one thing. Now, there are boxes that allow us to control all of those things with some custom coding and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But let's be honest, even the remote that comes with my cable box from Rogers, which is made by URC in New York, it still has a manual to control it, and you still have to put in codes to get a remote to control a couple of, a set-top box and a TV.
Yep.
And let's be honest, I know you guys don't really work in the residential world, but
no, we have to do wife tech support.
Yeah, you got to do wife tech support, but we still have I'm probably being generous and saying that 90% of cable and satellite users in North America still can't program their remote properly.
It's the equivalent of the basic 12 on the VCR.
Yep, it is. And, we in the industry, we look out and we get so offended and frustrated with these news reports that come out and, say that there's no such thing as a universal remote that works. And all they talk about is some piece of crap they bought at, not Source for Sports, but the Source or Radio Shack and a Harmony. And that is the
Harmony. Oh,
depth,
good Lord.
Yeah, that's the depth of their knowledge on that, on our industry. And we get offended at that, as we should. But we've got to promote it, and we've got to try and get people to understand that there is more there.
And I agree with you, but I also think part of it is we have to understand the customers and what the customers need. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right. And I'm not saying you should sell everything to everyone, but it's just one of those things of if they don't know it's possible, they'll never ask for it.
Right. And I agree that we have a problem when CNN says it's not possible, whereas to me I go, no, I think it's possible. It's just like the news. You don't just pick up one device and read the news off of it. You might look at Twitter, you might look at Facebook, you might look at Google Plus, you might look at MySpace to see what happened 10 years ago. You could go to AOL,
To see what happened 15 years ago?
Places. No. AOL's back. They own Huffington Post, so it's it's back. Just ask them; they'll tell you.
They own Engadget too, so
we're back, yo.
But the whole idea of, to me, that's what I wanted to say to CNN is, from what I'm hearing, I haven't read the article yet, is kind of like do your research, just like a consumer would have. There's more than one answer to pretty much every question in the world. But I also think that we have to realize that, it sounds funny. My grandparents had rotary telephones. Yes, my grandfather was an electrical engineer. He knew exactly how push-button phones worked. But the rotary telephone did everything he needed. So he was like, why change it? And I see that logic as well. If it's the quality of life, and are the gadgets controlling you, or are you controlling the gadgets? And I think that's, to some degree, the problem that we have with home automation is people get scared of, so how do I turn on my lights now? Or I can never get the VCR to stop blinking 12, and I don't want my, to be honest, I'm looking at the Nest thermostat going, yeah, it's really cool, I'm cheap. I don't want to pay $200 some odd dollars for a thermostat when I can buy a $17 one that works fine, and I go up to the wall and I program it.
Yeah, but it's really cool, and you can do cool things like turn your, I can turn my heat down now and screw with it.
So in other words, I could be in Elkhart/South Bend and adjust the temperature in your house in St. Louis.
Yes, if I gave you the ability to do that.
And
challenge accepted.
Well, okay, so here's the thing, and we make fun of that, but you make a good point. The rotary phone was first of all, they're freaking cool. It took forever to dial, zero.
Yeah, 911 wouldn't have worked too well.
No, 911 was bad. But I get some of that, except for I think that there's a generational shift. Just like there's a generational shift with mobile, and there's a generational shift with content consumption. The generation beyond us is probably going to be fine with it. They're going to want to be able to walk into the house and everything do the house, turn on and play the hockey game or play whatever music they want. My dad's generation, 60 and above, they probably are slightly frightened of that because they watched one too many sci-fi movie where the house that killed or whatever.
And it always comes down to knowing your customer, knowing what they want and what they need, and you can never discount the opportunity to let a potential customer experience something, because there is always that thing. You don't know what you need until you try it.
Yeah.
You don't know, when we first put lighting control in our house, my wife was she was furious. Because it is not a
I've been to your house. Why do you need lighting control in your house? Is probably her exact comment.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm pretty much with Fiona on this one. I hate to tell you.
No, that's fine. But once it was in and she lived with it and she worked with it a little bit and got used to it, now when we go to somebody else's house who doesn't have it, it's never more than, especially if we're there in the evening, when it's dark out or whatnot, it's never more than about 10 minutes till she turns to me and she's like, it'd be great if they had some raw in here. Because when I'd walk into the back hall to find the bathroom, since I don't live here and I don't know where the lights are, they'd all turn on, and I'd know where I was going.
Yeah.
It'd be great. You should sell them, which is normally how it starts. Yeah. And it's one of those things. Before we had mobile phones, before we had smartphones, before we had a map on our phone.
Yeah, you use this big thing
use
called
the big fold-out
actuated positioning system, maps.
Very nice.
And you know what the best thing is about them? They work when you don't have cell coverage. I actually keep one in my car.
No.
Yes. It's when I go to Hertz and I rent a car, which is like every week, people look at me funny when I go, "Do you want Everlost?" "No, I want a paper map." What? Yep. Because I can use the maps and I can twist it the way I'm seeing it, and I know exactly how it works. And yes, I have one of these, but there's something to be said for. Yes, GPS makes my life a lot better, but I still have a map. It's kind of like who has a flashlight in their house? Same idea.
Yeah, I still have a flashlight though. All right, guys. Yeah. That, by the way, it's apparently 68 degrees in my house right now, so that's gonna do it.
Are you done cleaning your son's room yet? Because that was the last time I checked in on you remotely.
I am done cleaning his room and hanging his TV and hanging his Roku. So last night
How old is your son?
5.
And I don't even have a Roku.
Well, so I don't have cable to their. I'm looking at this. We bought.
I had to buy my own TV.
We got both of the kids. This was a long discussion between me and my wife because I didn't want to get them TVs this young. We got both of the kids. We got both TVs and both kids' TVs and both kids a Roku because we're in the process of cutting cable. Getting rid of all cable, and I'm mounting an HD antenna, and we'll do over the air HD. A digital rather. But yeah, both kids have Rokus, and so I have the Roku app on my cell phone. And my daughter was being a little not listening the other evening and coming to dinner, and so I got on my app and I froze her Roku. So
do you also have an infrared TV or an infrared camera in there so that you can see
don't.
what they're doing and spy them? But to me, that's the next thing: is the nanny cam on the iPhone. And I'm sure there are people that have it.
Quite a few clients that we've done that for, and who have it, and they monitor when their kids go to bed, when they send them to bed. They'll give them 10, 15 minutes, check in on them. If they're still...
Turn off the lights remotely via automation. Then the kid trips and kills themselves as they're getting out of bed to get a glass of water.
Minorly
smart
bruises.
Lighting.
No. It's all motion activated, so they can, it comes on to 10%, so they can find their way to the bathroom. Brad, it's me. We use lighting as a life safety device.
There we go. Life safety. Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for this week. There's all sorts of lawsuits, I'm sure, happening right now.
I'm glad you sent out articles you wanted us to talk about.
I'm sure I did, but I forgot what they were now. That guy right there is Bradford Benn. He is the manager of vertical markets for theme parks, has the coolest title in the world. He works for Harman. Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure. Sorry for the internet connectivity issues. I blame the cold. It froze. The electrons stopped moving.
I blame Vincent Cerf. So look that up, kids. Also with us is Matt Scott, the world's worst Canadian, also owner of Omega Audio Video. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Where can people find you? I didn't ask Brad for that. I'll get back to him. Where can people find you?
Nobody wants to find him. They can find me on pretty much all social media networks at Matt D. Scott, Twitter or anything else. Also, Omega Audio Video is a pretty easy find for you.
Okay. Also, Bradford, where can people find you, either on Twitter or other social places?
Pretty much any place I can get away with using Bradford Benn with 2 N's, I use it. So it's Bradford, BENN. Or if you want to hit me up at the office, and you can see what flights I'm pretending to land, it's bradford.benn@harman.com. And obviously, you can also hit up my website for my personal stuff at bradfordbenn.com. And on the Twitters and the Facebooks and Google+. I don't have MySpace, and I got rid of my AOL account last year.
Really? The fact that you had MySpace,
but they're back, Bradford. They're back.
Well,
yeah, but I think having 17 email addresses is like 16 too many.
JT says they're back, but whatever.
Yeah, but he doesn't care. He just produced his albums.
Yes, and stars on.
I'm never gonna come back here again.
Don't follow me. Go to our fabulous new website, architect by the fabulous and talented Mr. Matt D. Scott. There it is, folks. There's still a couple bumps and bruises, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. He did a very good job. So say, hey, yay, Matt Scott. Good job.
Matt Scott.
Good job on the new website. So go by there.
Thanks, Brad.
AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv, you'll find this program and a host of others. We have a brand new DIY coming down the pike. Honestly, as soon
Tell
as
CNN about it so they know how to do this stuff.
Yeah. It's a different one. As soon as I can get around to editing it up and putting it up there, plus the AV Social, EdTech, the education-focused podcast, State of Control, and a host of others. So yeah, go by the website, avnation.tv. avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. It's all the time we have for AV Week.